Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our topic is card-linked offers meets affiliate marketing, unlocking insights and opportunities in card-linked offers, put on by the Performance Marketing Association's Publisher Recruitment Council. So lots of words there just to get this thing kicked off. What I would like to do first is we're going to have all of our panelists introduce themselves. While we are doing that, I would love it for those of you who are watching us through LinkedIn Live, if you could also introduce yourselves, tell us what company you're from, and then also kind of what you're hoping to hear today, what your ties are to card-linked offers. If you're on the recruitment side, if you're on the card-linked offer side, whichever it is, we'd love to hear from you. And then also, if you want to drop questions as we're going on today, if I'm able to work any of those questions into the flow with the panelists, I'll be happy to work those in. If we don't get a chance to get to the questions that you ask, the panelists will go into LinkedIn afterwards and answer those questions for you as well. So I'm just starting off while you're all introducing yourselves. I will introduce myself. I'm Tricia Meyer. I'm the Executive Director of the Performance Marketing Association. I've been on the publisher side for the last, I would say almost 20 years. So let's kick it off for the rest of you. Nikki as our chair.
Sounds fantastic. Well, as Tricia said, my name is Nikki Yorgiadis. I am the Director of Publisher Development at Gen3 Marketing. I also am now the new council chair for the Publisher Recruitment Council. So very, very excited about that. I've been with Gen3 at least for coming up on my 5th year, in affiliate, obviously longer. I'm speaking on behalf of this panel with all of the work I've been doing internally at the agency with a lot of card-linked offer partners, have really dove into the space. Last year, I spoke at Optimism, Rakuten's Optimism conference on this topic as well. So very familiar, and I just very look forward to what has happened and what's to come. So very excited to be on this panel. Thank you.
Perfect. Teresa.
Teresa Grammatke. I lead up the affiliate marketing team at eAccountable. We're a full service digital marketing agency. I've been in affiliate marketing for almost 20 years, and I've always been managing client accounts in that time. And through that side, I'm working with a lot of clients who are currently using card-linked offers, are interested in expanding it, and also understanding the best practices while working with these partners.
Megan.
So hi, everyone. My name is Megan Neri. I am the Senior Director of Partnership Development at DMI Partners. I have been at DMI for almost 4 years and in this space about 11. But I've been working with CLO partners since they kind of started coming out into the affiliate space a couple of years ago, and my team works with them very closely, all different size CLO partners with all of our brands, and I'm very excited to be on this panel to chat more.
Thank you. Chris.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Hi, I'm Chris Schell with Rakuten Advertising. My title is Director of Publisher Acquisition, and I've been with Rakuten Advertising for 19 years. And, with a publisher acquisition, we are recruiting, onboarding the newest, publishers, and card-linked offers is a business model that has really started to grow, and we see a trend of more and more card-linked offer publishers that are coming into the network. So excited to be a part of this panel, and thanks to the PMA for giving us the opportunity to speak with everyone here.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. And thank you for all of the introductions that are rolling in on LinkedIn. This is awesome. Seeing kind of the place you're all coming from. We've got a nice broad spectrum out there, people coming from networks and publishers and agencies and all kinds of stuff. So feel free to keep introducing yourselves out there, and I'll keep an eye on all of that. So we kind of got here because the Publisher Recruitment Council, one of our councils that meets every month, they have the opportunity to do webinars, and in their conversations just kind of come up with things that they think that other people might want to learn more about. And last year, middle of last year, we kind of started this topic of, does anybody work with card-linked offers? Does anybody know what this is? And it was kind of split. Half of the council was like, yeah, we don't work with them at all. We've heard about it. We've heard other people talking about them, but we're not doing anything yet. And half were like, yeah, this is something that we're really trying to dive into and to learn about more. So anytime we hear that, where we know that there's this interest in affiliate marketing, our goal is to then bring together the experts. So let's just kind of start with, what is CLO? It's referred to as CLO, card linked offers. What are card linked offers? And maybe also kind of conceptualize them for us, like as the consumer. It helps me to understand what it looks like on my side. So maybe that helps, with what the whole process of card linked offers are. Megan, you want to take that?
I will kick us off here. So as Trish mentioned, CLO partners, they are card linked offers, and they are exactly what they sound like. Consumers will link an offer to their credit card, and once they make a purchase, they're rewarded via cashback or points. And that's really contingent on the CLO partner and again, like what they're offering. These partners typically work with a subset of financial institutions. So think PNC, Bank of America, even like smaller banks that like nano banks that maybe you may not have heard of. But they promote brands offers to their respective consumer base. And when we're thinking about offers, don't think like coupon code, think again, like cashback, points back system. So they're really taking away that like promotional aspect for a brand. There's a ton of advantages to working with these partners. And there's also some logistics to know and some things to consider before launching a campaign, which of course we'll chat about throughout the webinar, but something to like really keep in mind through this conversation. And I think this is a super impactful stat, but 82% of the United States adults have at least one credit card with rewards attached. So hopefully that really helps portray the reach, the influence, the magnitude that these partners have on growing a brand's affiliate program.
Anyone else want to jump in on that?
I would just jump in and say, with acquisition, when we talk to new publishers as a user, I like to get a sense of the user experience. So I encourage, anyone out there to take a look at some of these publishers, look at some of the platforms that are offered. As mentioned, with your credit card, with your bank, you probably have this type of opportunity to take a look at. As a consumer, I like the discovery aspect of the offers that are presented. Many of these card-linked offer platforms have the capability to geo-target based on your location, and you can discover a new store, a new service, a new restaurant. A lot of them have a click to activate type of offer, so it really makes it easy to see as far as if you're looking to try something new in the discovery aspect too.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I think I'd encourage everyone who's watching in the audience to kind of take a look at your credit card. And if you're even familiar that if you're getting any type of rewards, probably a large subset of us are earning some type of reward with our credit card. And this is where it really ties into what we're going to be discussing. So kind of from the consumer side, we're all experiencing this in some way. And we're probably all in some type of tangent working with a card that is linked in some capacity. So it's really, really exciting.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of nice to be able to have that consumer view as well. So much of what we do in affiliate marketing, we're not necessarily the consumer. We're only on the advertising side of it. So to actually also be consumers and be able to see how this works and kind of feel it for ourselves it gives us some nice perspective here. Teresa, anything you wanted to add in there?
No, I think you guys all touched on all the key points of what they are. And, from the consumer side, definitely a huge part of making sure. And I know, I think that opt-in part is probably the most, like that look through, and the discovery process is something key to highlight about it as far as we're concerned from like the incrementality standpoint as a channel, which we know is extremely important to our clients.
It's nice to see things that pop up like this. The fact that, I started noticing, like you said, I started noticing them myself when we started talking about this on my own credit card statement. And then also, like, conversely, we just had a brand new member card that is CLO that joined the PMA last week. So it's like, once you start seeing these things, then like it all starts getting a lot bigger in front of you. So let's talk about, this is kind of new to our industry, but it is not just part of our industry. It's a lot of other stuff too. How do these card linked offers relate to our affiliate industry specifically? Chris?
Yeah, I could jump in, and that's great to hear that CARD has recently joined the PMA. We're big fans and partners of CARD over here as well. But Rakuten Advertising is actually the first to market the capability to ingest data from card linked offer publishers. So we feel like we're the pioneers, at least within the affiliate industry, of the card linked offer space. So to walk you through a little bit as far as how publishers work with us or integrate, is that they send us transactional data that directly goes into our reporting system. So it's set up similar to an advertiser for reporting purposes. We set the publisher up with an FTP account. Majority of these publishers do send these transactions daily. Everything else is tracked the same. You think billing, offers. So these are offers within our network. Consolidated payments. There's no technical integration, no POS systems for coupons or barcodes. So we really make it easy for these publishers to onboard. We have a lot of publishers that are in our network. And like I said, we have that trend that we see more and more of these publishers that are coming aboard. And you have those one-to-one partnerships with the advertiser. So, it's similar to affiliate. It's just a different tracking mechanism. And the more publishers that are coming into our network, the more that we can learn about this space and continue to educate our advertisers, our network, of the exciting opportunity to partner with Card Linked Offer now through affiliate.
Yeah, and I can kind of chime in here. It's so exciting to see and be able to have Chris really shed light on what the networks are doing, because that is probably the biggest thing to conceptualize and understand about card linked offers or CLO partners. What we have to remember is how they're coming into our world and our affiliate world is because it's a performance-based opportunity. They have a rev share. It's similar to our model, but there is a difference. And what comes with that is that they're not tracking within our attribution models. There isn't a click that then is going to take you with a pixel to the site. Everything is linked from a card specifically, and it's card data and transactional data that comes from financial institutions. So it's a different set, but having the bridge where a network like Rakuten, for example, that is basically pulling in this information that we need, this transactional data that, again, a lot of our advertisers are working in this model because it's performance-based. We're getting the bridge and the gap in our industry. And I think it's fantastic and wonderful. And it's just such an advancement to what we're used to, but it does come with remembering it's not our industry standard. It's a different model of thinking. And I think that's a really important aspect. So with what Chris is talking about, it's just important to remember that these CLO partners don't track through the affiliate networks. They're obtaining data and information that we can use for reporting purposes, but the tracking is not the same in that respect. And I think that's a huge part to understand, but to really see how we're having CLO come into our industry. If anyone else wants to chime in as
So
well.
we've had a couple of questions that come in, I think, that relate to things that you all are saying already that I just want to toss out to you. I was told to do a CLO, the contract and links have to be direct with the merchant, thus rendering affiliate tracking moot, which is obviously an issue for agencies. Is this true across the board with all CLOs?
Well, I can first and foremost say, well, probably Chris can talk a little bit more to Rakuten itself. Remember that it's not affiliate tracking. And even as an agency, and as you know, three of us on the panel are from the agency side of things, you don't think of CLO, or you can't have it in the exact same model as your regular affiliate programs or your regular affiliate partnerships. You can now get your data into the platforms, and that way you can have reporting or be able to have some of your payouts, but it isn't the exact same tracking model. And therefore, it isn't to say it's moot, it's just a different partnership, if that makes sense. And I think Chris, anyone else can speak to that as well, but he'll have more insight to the technical side of the networks, but that's where your mindset has to kind of shift a little bit.
Yeah,
That's a good point. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Megan. Sorry about that. No,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna kind of like piggyback off Nikki and say, like, the attribution, like, it is removed. Think like a typical click stream, like with all your affiliates that are in the network that are using affiliate tracking, attribution is all tracked with them because they are joined to the network. They are
Mm-hmm.
using those links. CLO is tracked completely off platform, completely off network. So yes, they ingest their data within so that they could pay out appropriately. And so you can have reporting all together, but the attribution does not link up with the rest of your affiliates. It's completely separate. So yeah, last click attribution would not apply with these partners.
That's a good point. And I was just going to say that as you mentioned, Megan and Nikki, that there's no affiliate link of how we traditionally think of affiliate links that is necessary. These when you look at these card linked offer partners, like I mentioned, as far as our integration, like our integration document, it's even listed as an O2O integration guideline. So looking at the trend of card linked offer publishers, just a few years ago, we probably would speak to more publishers that may be more classified as O2O. But as the trend of card linked offer continued to see more and more of these publishers, our tracking mechanism as far as where the publisher sends us transactional data, similar to how we would receive transactional data from an advertiser, now makes it easy for that publisher to do that. So there would no affiliate link would be needed. Basically, as we mentioned, the user, they would link that particular card. These card linked offer providers, they partner with credit card companies, banks, processing companies, and that's where they get that transactional data. They have that transactional data. There's certain fields that we pass along to them. The card linked offer publisher populates those fields. They send us the transactional data, and it's all through our reporting system as you would normally see for publishers and advertisers.
Yeah. And something also like on that same notion of like how these partners relate to affiliate, and this might seem like super obvious, but given like all of like the data that we do get with these types of partners, and this is like very similar to affiliate, these partners do need to be nourished for growth also. Like they simply are not a set it and forget it. Like you can't have that mindset. In fact, I think with these partners, there's like even more room for growth. There's just so much opportunity to optimize with them. And it requires that nurturing and finding those opportunities that are advantageous for all of the parties. And you need to have those regular touch bases, reporting and information sharing, and those deep strategy sessions and go forward plans. Like CLO partners have strategies to help brands reach goals, whether that's new to file customers or engaging lapsed customers or strengthening your LTV, capturing competitive market share. Whatever your brand's goals are, you just have a conversation with a partner that is best suited for your brand. And there is a strategy that can be put in place there. So again, it's directly related to affiliate in the sense that it's all performance based and there is that relationship building aspect.
Yeah, I think to kind of tie it nicely from what we've said, if we just take a step back from some of these questions that are already coming up and that we'll definitely address in some of our other portions of this webinar, I think the most important thing to understand is that CLO partners have come into our space because it's a performance model. There aren't upfront fees to get launched. It is you're pretty much having a type of CPA payout, except what it is, it's for all the orders. So where it comes to us is it's a performance model. There aren't upfront fees to get onboarded. You're really working on general overscaled budgets with your rev share component. So your payouts, just like we typically kind of conceptualize, but remember that it is not following our industry attribution, and it is coming from card data specifically, separate than our click stream from pixels on an advertiser site. So I think that's the best way to think of it. It's come into our space, but a different model in its entirety, I think is the best way to put it. So think about that way. And again, we'll address all the attribution questions, et cetera. But that's the kind of general understanding I think everyone should kind of take away of where it sits, and definitely the relationship building there, the goals that you can achieve, which will probably be a nice segue to our next section. But yeah.
Awesome. So let's kind of take this next part. We'll talk about kind of the advantages of working with these partners and then also the challenges. So as those of you who are watching, as you're having questions on either side of that, go ahead and start dropping those in. So we'll start kind of with the easy part. What are the advantages of working with card-linked offer publishers?
Well, I think a big part of it is related to what Megan says, and that's that audience that you get. It's a huge market. It gives you access to banks who aren't doing traditional affiliate marketing. There's some really big players in there. A lot of these are affluent customers as well. And as studies have shown, affluent customers love to get points and loyalty. So as far as the target market, it's a great way to reach those, whether you're luxury or just want to reach people that aren't necessarily discounting. I would say also that if you think about the data that credit card companies have on consumers, and then you can think about the targeting that's possible. Not only geo-targeting, you can look, like where they've purchased in the past. So, like think about conquesting options, or just think of, like all the demographics, things like that. You can really get granular. And then, like the basic things too, as far as like, if you are seasonal and you have, like you want to spur sales, you can do short-term commission increases, or they do events, things like that as well. So as Megan mentioned, like there's so many optimization opportunities. And then like the in-store sale portion too, if that is part of the CLO program, can be a huge opportunity for advertisers. I think especially super big with, higher ticket items like jewelry and things like that, as well as last minute shopping. I know in programs that we managed late December, right before Christmas, saw some big spikes. We're anticipating the same thing with Valentine's Day coming up, as that tends to be a pretty much last minute shopping type of holiday. So it can really spur those in-store sales as well. And, like the good partners, like as you're working with them, they'll provide you all the data. So you'll be able to see the transactions. You'll be able to, make sure that it's opt-in. All of that is there. So you will have that availability to it. So it does take a little, like the leap of faith, because it isn't tracked through the network. But, these are very much vetted partners, and they provide and must share the data with you as well. So.
Yeah. And just to add to that as well, I think another advantage is that there's just like a very natural flow for consumers when they opt into these offers. The experience is like much more personalized because, again, they have that data to be able to target specific consumers. And ultimately, that's creating higher chances of conversions. The consumer shopping behavior data that these partners do have, it's just amazing and really can be used in like so many ways. And that data can genuinely tell a story that's directly tied back to the brand's initial goals. So, for example, if a brand is looking to acquire new customers, they can tap into that user behavior data. They can actually see, okay, this consumer has like an affinity for this type of brand or this type of product. They can target a new audience. They can measure that performance. They can track it back. And furthermore, some of these partners also have data and analyses too that can help brands in different channels, which can, again, just like help create more holistic strategies. There might be some costs associated with that, but it's typically worthwhile.
Oh yeah, I think making sure you have these conversations with with different CLO partners as you're in your discovery phase, or as you're trying to figure out who to work with. Many, and pretty much any of the partners in CLO will be able to do incrementality studies, especially if you're within a certain scale or scope. So you can definitely target that. The geo targeting, just accessing user data that you could otherwise not be able to facilitate. Has this user dropped off in a certain amount of time? Had they previously shopped at some point, and then we haven't had that customer ever return in a gap period? Or you can even do different offerings, and by offerings, the rewarded, whether cashback or loyalty, but you can even do campaigns where I want to give maybe recurring, my loyal customers, maybe a smaller reward, but a larger one to people who haven't shopped in X amount of time, or different campaigns to kind of bring back customers, increase your LTV. So there are so many unique ways to use these partners and to access millions of shoppers. There are caveats where we'll talk about where this isn't for every brand, and we can get to that. But in general, the advantages, if your brand can work with a CLO partner, are very, very interesting. Another one to note is the strategies that you can do for in-store versus online. CLO is able to create very robust and intricate in-store strategies for your brands to supplement what you're doing with your online strategies. And there's some CLO partners that have that focus. Rakuten CLO, for example, has some campaigns they can do specifically for in-store to kind of ramp up efforts in-store versus online. So there's a mix of all sorts of different things that you can really optimize for your advertisers. And it's so interesting to see these kind of shifts that we can take that we otherwise can't do in our regular affiliate, because we're talking about financial institution data of all cards and all transactions on someone's card. Chris might have an affinity to shop more at something than myself or Megan or Teresa. We all can be targeted in different ways to see different offers based on what we typically are shopping with our credit cards, for example. So think about kind of that scale and scope and how it can really expand with these partnerships.
Yeah, that's a
And
good example too, when you mentioned Rakuten card linked offer network. So many of these publishers that are in the network, they're almost could kind of look at them similar to like a sub network. So they may work
Yeah.
with multiple banks, loyalty platforms, financial institutions, and as an advertiser, you have that ability to partner with all of these different partners that they have that they're working with too. And just thinking of the vast opportunity of millions of customers, millions of card holders. Each of these publishers that you work with, they're going to have their media kit, their deck that's going to go into how many card holders that they have, where they're located. There's a lot of global opportunities. And these publishers are also very successful within the affiliate channel because it does have that that opportunity to work with so many card holders that they can really drive a lot of volume, which potentially could be a challenge. I know that we may touch on that a little later, but they're successful. So if you're looking to target seasonality, I know we mentioned, as far as the data is if someone had purchased from that specific card. So not only just thinking of that particular bank, think of a specific card within that credit card company or that bank that they can let you know, okay, this card holders, they have not purchased at this particular retailer. This is how we make and try to target and get offers in front of them.
yeah. And also just to kind of again, piggyback off of everything you guys just said, what's really great about these partners is it is just so customizable. If you consider a lapsed customer someone who hasn't shopped at your store in 6 months, they can make that happen. If it's 1 year, they can make that happen. Everything is customizable. And again, is backed by this data that is directly from the consumer, which is just, in my opinion, absolutely incredible and a really great way to again, hit your brand's goals. And then just overarching thought here, I think in general, brands are always looking for new out of the box type partners to work with. And that is CLO. It's not traditional. It's performance based though. And there's a ton of opportunity and you have the ability to get really, really creative. So it is pushing those boundaries of, hey, okay, it's not the traditional way that we work with partners all of the time, but they're a way to step out of your comfort zone. Again, find a new way to get your brand in front of consumers, get brands to be loyal to your business, so on and so forth. So it is it's an excellent new model. And I think one that we'll see grow pretty quickly.
Oh yeah. And even to kind of echo everybody, the regions. We're not just talking about the United States, where a lot of us probably have the most experience with working with US CLO partners. But in my experience, there are some in Canada really coming in and doing some creative stuff within the Canadian market. I know in the UK, again, similar kind of rhetoric. So it's not just isolated, let's say, to the United States. For anybody watching, there are opportunities across the globe, and there are many people who use different credit cards as well. So just to think about kind of that scale and scope, or if you have a brand wanting to test a different region, or they're already starting maybe a general affiliate program in a region, and they now also want to see, okay, maybe what can card linked offers do? Can we maybe find out some more data for this country? There's definitely a scope that takes it beyond, let's say, the United States, even though I think maybe majority of us watching, I hope, can also kind of resonate that as you're working on global accounts too for advertisers.
Well, we've made it through the advantages. So now we do need to talk about the challenges and the concerns, of which the majority of the questions we've had come through on LinkedIn so far. Really great questions, because what this demonstrates is obviously a lot of people are super curious about CLOs and working with them, but they've heard this or they've heard that, or there's this gap in knowledge at this point. So I'll start just letting the panelists kind of go into everything, that you've already been thinking about and put together, and then we'll start working in some of these questions that have been coming in as well that you don't already touch on with your remarks. So let's, just kind of kick it off, and the challenges, but also maybe how we deal with some of these challenges.
Exactly. And I'll kick us off with this. And we definitely want to preface this that, it's not something negatively to discuss. This is very much, new in our industry. A lot of us are taking on these opportunities that might otherwise have not. And of course, it bears challenges that we're seeing as we kind of try and bring into our industry, and also just what we're seeing generally to work with these partners. And there's always ways to overcome these. So I do want to kind of preface that as we kind of dive through it. And some of this stuff I'll touch on the questions as well. But a few of the challenges, generally speaking, relate to several different facets. First of all, brand requirements. CLO is not for every brand, and different CLO partners will have different minimum brand requirements to be able to work with them. There's some CLO partners that require annual revenue spends to be in a certain threshold. Some require a brand to have certain budget requirements in a campaign period. So say a 3 or 6 month campaign, to have an expectation to spend a certain amount. Again, because it's performance based, you may not spend that amount, but there is an expectation which comes with the volume and scope of CLO partners. So I think that's a huge one to bear in mind. Generally in our industry, most advertisers have the opportunity to work and create an affiliate program. With CLO, there are limitations in place, and to be able to see growth or revenue does come to by some brand recognition, of course, especially when you're looking at credit card offers and where people are shopping. So kind of keep that in mind, that as it grows, maybe that will change. But I think in the current landscape, CLO is not for every advertiser. And we do hope that it'll get to that point. Another thing to bring up right off the bat is incrementality. And again, we're touching on this from duplication to how are we measuring this? How is it tracked? An interesting portion of some CLO partners, and most of us have spoken here, that a lot of campaigns that are preferred are where we have an opt-in or a click to activate offer. And that is where on the credit card members portal, they're able to click to activate that I want to receive extra cash back when I shop at X advertiser. But what some CLO partners are implementing or have implemented based on their network of CLO partners is that they have a frictionless or no method of activation, and that can be of a concern. And I think generally the consensus, at least of the panelists, are we do typically prefer to work with partners that have a click to activate model. There's certain financial institutions that do require that click to activate model. There are some neobanks, et cetera, or other partners that don't. So it's really understanding which partner you're working with, which campaigns, making sure your advertiser understands that, and knowing which campaign, because that can, again, lead to some conversations with incrementality. The other portion that I will touch on before, again, I'll let my panelists also kind of chime in here, is the duplication and double dipping. And that comes more with our industry. And I know there were some questions on it, so I'll try and tie in the questions mixed with what I was generally going to discuss. And that's there will be some duplication or double dipping, whatever terminology you'd like, with certain other affiliate partners, with certain CLO partners as well. And that really comes down to the fact that there is a difference in attribution and modeling. So CLO is working from cards specifically, and that data is being come and integrated in from financial institutions on a transactional level. The affiliate marketing is from typically most programs, although some do not, but most are with a last click model or some type of attribution model that follows a click pattern. With that being said, what we have noticed, and at least coming from my agency with some tests that we have personally done, and I know Chris can chime in after, we have seen no more than a 5% duplication with certain partners and as low as 2 to 3%. Chris will also speak on his experience because I know he has some numbers as well. But with that being said, it is a very small percent of overlap because there is a case of someone earning cash back, but then using a credit card that they've also enabled rewards with. But it is more limited, which this also kind of indicates from, preliminary tests we're seeing that it looks like a credit card user is not doing as much else with online shopping when it comes to if they're seeing a reward they want to activate from their credit card, they're going to go shop pretty much directly in a way. So that's a little bit to try and help some of these. I'll let my panelists take the floor a bit more as well, and I can always chime in after, but at least kind of some overarching things we're seeing and how to work with those partners on them.
Yeah. And I think that's, I think that kind of actually does show the incrementality of it when it's such a small percent, but I absolutely think it's something to keep an eye on and to always be looking for, because you obviously don't want to be double paying. One thing that I know we've seen as an issue with some of our clients is, especially for when they're not integrated with a platform and they just send like weekly or monthly reports. And if the program is running with a budget, it can get very hard to manage that budget, especially, in high traffic times and high sale times. So, if it is someone that's super tight or does have a specific budget for the affiliate marketing channel, it is something to keep in mind. You can request more frequent sales, but if it's not integrated, it's never going to be as quick. And because some of them almost operate as like sub-affiliate networks, because they, they have the program and then they work with multiple different, whether it's financial institutions, whatever it might be. To pause isn't instant always, which can be a problem for those with the budget things. So definitely be aware of that if you have clients that are super sensitive to that part of it, and bring that up as you discuss it. I know some are able to provide more frequent reporting. Some it's like after the 15th of the month, which is way too late to make any changes. So something to be aware of.
Yeah, that is a good point. It could be like we said, it could be a positive as well as a challenge as well.
Yeah,
they can
exactly.
drive this volume, but you have to be weary of the amount of volume that they can drive it. And just to chime in to what Nikki had mentioned, so what we had seen as she was discussing that, double dipping, it can happen, but it's very rare. So our stats align with Nikki and Gen 3, so it was more around 3% from what we could see, 3% or less, really. So it's really not that often that it is happening. And also from what's already been said, it's really it may not work for every advertiser. You got to be open to really certain things in order to partner. So we talked about all the robust data targeting opportunities that card-linked offer platforms do have. But then, and on the other hand, you also have to look at there may be some that may have less product information. So when you think of less product information, how does that impact returns? They may be sending product data that could be net totals for an order. As far as processing those returns, if they're sending the negative, is that the full, order volume? So looking at how that's going to really just work with your overall program and how that may work. Looking at order IDs versus transaction IDs, how are they receiving that information from the bank, and how are you able to match that up on the back end? Those are challenges that I think you can work with card-linked offer publishers and just figure out what would be the best solution for that partnership with you, the advertiser, and them as the publisher, and how you can work on that one-to-one partnership.
Another conversation that we're having with our clients, and this is just something that to be transparent about with every client that you're working with, is like the reporting challenges around validating orders. So everyone on this call like hears us saying like, oh, the reporting is sent over, the reporting is sent over. And essentially that is a list again of transactions that came through from these CLO partners. But the data is not one-to-one because we don't track OIDs. Financial institutions don't track order IDs. So they like have to validate orders through different metrics, whether that's the last four of a credit card or some other means. So typically you're not able to have a 100% validation, and there could be several reasons why this is happening. It could be as simple as how a consumer is checking out. Are they checking out via PayPal? Perhaps like a bank doesn't like look at that, or some CLO partners only send back samples of transactions and not the whole gamut of everything. So this is just something to be very upfront with when you're talking to brands and saying like, hey, you know, these orders aren't going to have a 100%, like you're not going to be able to validate 100% of these orders. Some partners I've talked with are able to validate up in the high 90s, which is fantastic. And I think as we go, we'll get better at that and getting more information from financial institutions over to us to validate those orders. But in terms of how we're like combating that right now, it's all about communication and just making sure that the brands, the clients understand how these partners function. They're okay with it. They know these orders are coming through financial institutions, so they are legit. If they were not legit, they'd be in big trouble. So, you know, there's a lot of those like nuances that have to be conversed about before launching any campaigns. So I think that's also like a big one to really think about when you're having the conversation to launch a campaign.
Yeah, and I think I can also somewhat touch on one of the questions regarding more duplication, but paying with credit cards being linked to different apps, and that could come into play with how you're setting up CLO campaigns. And it could be you can work with different CLO partners, and they can almost think of it kind of like a subnetwork, where if you're already working on a campaign with X CLO partner for these financial institutions, and your second CLO partner that you want to work with will not feed into those that they might have relationships with as well if you're already working. So you can spread out, with that also being in mind, making sure to understand maybe you only want to test with one partner for a certain campaign period to see what's coming through, versus overstacking and then the potential that maybe there are some credit cards that are linked for some rewards. But it does depend. It is more specific on certain offerings being sent to certain financial institutions or reward platforms, et cetera. So there are means with that. I don't think it's particularly as common, but again, it's always to address with the partner that you're looking to launch with, and being able to understand that as well.
We did have one just clarification question, which I think is a good one. We're talking about publishers and partners and CLOs. And in this case, we're referring to them as the same thing. So the CLO is the publisher, the CLO is the partner. So we are using those terms interchangeably.
Oh, and yes, and that can just be to clarify more. Think of it, especially as I think the majority of the audience are obviously an affiliate. We almost, the easiest way to conceptualize it is think of several CLO partners that we're referring to this term interchangeably. They are almost like a subnetwork. And a lot of these partners have different financial institutions, reward platforms, so other partners within them overarchingly. So that's kind of a way. So we're kind of using it interchangeably, but it is to understand that the main CLO partner has many or multiple relationships within that they house with different institutions, again, banks, whatever the case may be under them. But in our terminology, that's where you're hearing us kind of bring up sub-network, it's not really the proper term, but just for us all to be able to kind of have an idea of the scope of how they operate.
And you could also too, if you are working with publishers that that do have an overlap, you could ask them, you know, how do they address overlap if a brand is partnered with both of these, you know, card linked offer companies? You know, how do they work with them if they are a sub network? I think the more questions, the more information each party can get about the partnership, I think each individual card linked offer publisher works uniquely. So you can really, you know, tap into you know, what it is that they're great at and how they can partner with you. They can cater you know, how they partner with you.
Yeah. And like as Nikki was saying before too, like CLO isn't for every brand, and the brands that CLO is for, it's not one size fits all. And if you're working with every CLO partner out there, it's going to get convoluted. So it's best to like take a step back, see what your goals are and who you want to be working with, because there are different audiences and there are different things and capabilities and nuances and whatnot that come with every partner. So what is your brand able to work with, and then go from there? And again, like as we continue to work with these partners, our hope is that they continue to conform to affiliate and get a little bit more integrated into that traditional space, so we are able to like work with multiple partners at scale without all that convolution. So there's also that to note.
And you have to also understand that the data that they're collecting is so like it's PII. So you like they have to like hold it close. So while they can do some really great targeting with that, they like it's within their platform. Like they absolutely there can be no sharing. They can't even share all the detail, you know, like with the client, like it's very locked up. So you have to think of it as like each is kind of their own ecosystem. So you can't target, you know, like if they use different credit cards, it might not be new, but there's absolutely no way they can share that. This, you know, like this is extremely, extremely tight data that must be managed.
Excellent point.
We had some really good questions come in, some of them that kind of overlap. We'll just kind of go through some of them. This one might be a little different. I had a client concerned with the attribution. They stated it's kind of like checking your own homework. Thoughts on that? So, you know, to an extent, the tracking is just they're sending you those details. How do you feel about that?
Correct. They're sending all of those orders, but again, it's like it's coming from a financial institution, and you have to have that conversation with the partner up front. Like, am I getting 100% of the orders? What is the data that you are sending back to me? What is your typical rate of validation? Is there someone who can get on a call with my team to help get 100% of those orders? The attribution again is removed from other affiliates. So it is going to be anything where anytime that a consumer either clicked or linked to that frictionless checkout system, anytime a consumer does that and an order has been made through that card, it is going to be attributed to that partner for sure. So again, the attribution with other affiliates is going to be removed.
Yeah. And reminder that reporting there will not be real-time reporting, because this is information coming from institutions that have regulations beyond anything of what we have. Think of banks, financial institutions. There are regulations in place for privacy, for security. All this stuff means that you can't get real-time reporting like a regular affiliate program. And that is something that you do need to have conversations with, that your reporting is going to come in a certain cadence. Again, talk with the respective CLO partner that you want to work with and find out what cadence they can provide, whether from weekly, whether it's biweekly, whether it's once a month. Find out that cadence so that you can then make sure you're working with your clients accordingly on those campaigns. But those are kind of two things to address. Also, all campaigns with a CLO partner will have an IO and terms and conditions, because that IO is going to represent what's the payout that you're paying. In our terminology, think your CPA, but think of it as like every cost per credit card transaction, probably, instead of in that terminology is probably the best, but you will have terms and an IO set in place because there are typically budgets that you will generally be trying to maintain, or a ROAS that you're trying to reach or have your campaigns hit. So remember that in place, there will always be terms, there will always be IOs, there will always be certain things, but you will not get real-time reporting like next day reporting or the day of, where you can see transaction come in from the affiliate network. But also, as Chris touched on, and we know some other affiliate networks are implementing technology, there are some of our affiliate networks implementing technology to basically have APIs to get transactions in the affiliate network. So at least you can do some reporting analysis. But again, that is not tracked through the network like a clickstream pixel tracking. This is strictly they're feeding the transactions in so that you can see. I think that's a very big thing that we're all trying to make sure we wrap our heads around, but it's an important one.
And we should always talk about budget caps, because again, it can scale very quickly. So if there's only set budget for a specific amount of time, you should always, relay that information to the partner so that you don't get a surprise.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too, is that if you once you are aligned with the reporting that you're going to be partnering with this card linked offer publisher partner, look at this as almost like a new channel that is now an opportunity for you through affiliate. So like working with Rakuten advertising, you're able to have that same data and how you manage other publishers, your reporting, your payment. It's all consolidated into that one platform. So look at if you had to work with them separate, now you're able to work with them through the affiliate channel. So once you have that aligned, it makes it very easy so that you can manage all of those opportunities in one place.
I really like that, of like, think of it almost like another model that's kind of come in. And sometimes you need to have conversations with your advertisers if you do need to pull budget that's not affiliate, because the CLO partnerships scale far more and can be closer aligned with some other strategies of your advertiser, and to make sure that you are having the budget to really grow these partnerships too.
So one of the questions that came in was about whether the CLOs can get an exclusive coupon code that's set up in the network that tracks back to give the credit to the CLO. Is that something that works as part of this or not?
Most partners, I don't even think, do that. And it would be right now, no. I think that would be a bit of a challenge too, especially for like the frictionless model there, but no. And it also, like, again, I think what's very attractive about this model is that there is no coupon code attached to it. It is a loyalty type of a promotional method. So it removes that promotional aspect that brands sometimes are worried about.
Yeah. And even with some CLO partners, or majority of them now, having like publisher profiles in an affiliate network, the tracking is still not like regular tracking. So that code doesn't attribute the same way. We're getting transactional data, not attributing to a code. And most of the time, sometimes they won't even put in a code again if they're really streamlined through the ecosystem that they're shopping with in some instances. So unless there's developments that are on the horizon, I don't foresee it. It's just like Megan said, one of the most attractive things is it's a loyalty opportunity in its broader sense, really.
But there are other opportunities outside of card linked offer that, like with Rakuten advertising, you can work with publishers. Let's say it's a podcast publisher. Let's say it's a print publisher, that those particular codes for that publisher can be sent through our network. So there are opportunities that you can do that. It just may be a different type of publisher, but we can work with you to let you know those type of publishers that we have in the network too.
So we've had probably 10 more questions that we're not going to have time to get through. At the beginning of this, I told the panelists that I wasn't sure we were going to get any questions today because this is all kind of new stuff. And this is the most questions we've ever had in a PMA panel. So that is fantastic. And the most networking happening that I've ever seen in the comments section of one of our, wait until you all go back and see this, like tagging each other and messaging each other. It's incredibly awesome to me. So what I'm going to have the panelists do is after they get off here to go in and take a look at all the questions we didn't get a chance to, and they can answer you on LinkedIn in the comments section there. But I just wanted to real quickly, as we're kind of drawing in our time to a close, is to just ask, like, so where do you see this evolving in our industry? Obviously, this is not the end of CLOs and affiliate marketing. Judging by this panel, this is just kind of the beginning. So where do you see things evolving in the near term?
I'll kick us off. And I think you pretty much worded it perfectly. This is definitely the start. 2024, we saw such a jump in so many partners, and I think we're going to continue to see it in 2025. I think we're going to see a lot of affiliate, maybe some names in affiliate that we know that want to dabble in this as well. I think it's safe to say that even from the comments, there's going to be that shift as well. And we've already seen it starting last year, in 2024. So I think there's a lot to come. I think maybe having a more combined effort on, even with CLO, kind of maybe standardizing some terms, or as we're all kind of working through this, really seeing what some of the trends are coming into play could be something. And I think even from last year moving into this year, I think maybe more of our networks are going to have advancements in technology and reporting. And I think that's going to probably be one of the biggest things this year, is really seeing how everybody's working with CLO. What are we all doing? What are CLO providing? How can we all kind of work together to make the most fruitful partnerships? That's really what we're all doing. Even all of our CLO partners that have joined to watch today, we're all wanting to build these relationships. And I think now it's kind of seeing where can we grow even further and kind of align all together. So that's my opinion right off the start.
And I think more and more, I mean, I think, the biggest question always is incrementality. And I think just like more and more showing that and showing where they can add that value, and that these, it's such it just expands the audience and the reach for the advertisers. And so just more data backing that up, and more opportunities even to do more advanced targeting, I think is what I'm very excited about, as well as I do hope that the integrations do happen as well, because I think that makes everyone's life easier, and it eases a lot of the concerns and addresses a lot of the concerns that we have. So that's my plug.
I think you're going to see too more newer card linked offer publishers to join networks this year, but you're also going to see more of your traditional affiliate publishers, loyalty publishers, publishers that are going to start offering card linked offers to their user base and have that as a new offering to them. So I think that's pretty exciting to be on the lookout for, as well as a potential trend. But yeah, like I mentioned earlier, it was years ago that you would hear more O2O publishers, and then that really transitioned to, you don't hear as much about your specific O2O publisher. Now it's really card linked offer. There's a card linked offer aspect of that model, and I think that's just going to continue.
I also have a plug to wrap it up. So I wholeheartedly agree with everything that you guys said. And I think affiliate, as we all know, what's so beautiful about it is just a channel of channels, and it's really like never ending possibilities. And I think that is just like so exciting. It keeps us on our toes all of the time. And I think what CLO Partners did is they really created this like solid foundation to help convince like other potential publishers out there to like dip their toes in performance marketing and see how our channel can help, again, them, brands, agencies, everybody who participates in this channel. So I really think it just like opened the doors for a lot of other really great opportunity in our channel as well.
Oh, yeah. And I think a last kind of plug for maybe the PMA too. And as Tricia mentioned, we do have our first card as our first PMA member. And I think seeing the interactions in the chat here in our audience, please, like, don't hesitate to reach out to us, maybe join having these conversations and building this dialogue with also all of our CLO partners can be crucial. Maybe this will be another segment where we can have even more of that side of things kind of coming in and then really kind of tying the bow together. So all we want is to work very openly and transparently together and just really build the potential of what all of our industry can do. So I definitely also call out to everyone, reach out to me, reach out to the PMA. We can just create all these more diverse conversations as well, and just really grow such strategies in marketing as well.
Well, thank you all so much, the panelists, for sharing all of this great information, stats from your companies, inside ball stuff. Like, this has been terrific, I think, for all of us today. For those of you who are watching, thanks for being a part of this. We're going to get this video uploaded to our YouTube channel for anybody who wants to be able to share it, and also turning it into a white paper for those who would rather read through everything instead of sitting and watching. So please also make sure that you follow our LinkedIn page, because we do have webinars every single month, free webinars from the PMA on lots of different topics that hopefully you will also be interested in. So we'd love it if you would follow our page and check out the PMA a little bit. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.